Great. Well, thank you all for joining the webinar today, where we are going to talk about the best way to integrate SAP and Coupa. My name is Joris van der Water. I'm working in the go-to-market team within Rogo, and today I'm joined by my colleague Ambush Mischa, who is a Coupa integration expert. But for those folks who don't know Rogo integrations, well, we are obviously an integration company. That's our bread and butter. Now, over the last 12 years, we have helped more than 500 customers to modernize their integration landscape. We are an SAP OEM partner, and we also have a very strong partnership with Coupa as well. So now let's jump to the agenda. In the coming 25 minutes, we will walk you through a story about integration modernization. We will start with topic number 1, which is about the integration between S/4HANA and Coupa in general. Then, why now is the right time to modernize? Topic number 3 is about the standard adapter and the accelerator. Topic 4, proof of the pudding, the customer story, and of course, there will be some time left for Q&A. If you do have any questions during the session in itself, please use the chat functionality. All right, first topic of today, SAP S/4HANA and Coupa integration in general. So we currently live in a world of more. More and more applications are being used within companies, and all these applications are generating and processing more and more data. Today, we will focus on the purchase-to-pay domain, and more specifically on 2 business-critical applications, SAP and Coupa. You all know that the P2P process in itself is not really siloed. It's not a standalone process. SAP and Coupa, they are constantly generating and exchanging data. Think about a very standard process. It starts with a purchase requisition, which is converted into a PO, a goods received is booked, an invoice is received, and an account payable document is created. The transactions within this process, they generate data records in either SAP or Coupa. But master data is involved as well. Materials or services are purchased from suppliers for specific company codes or plans. They are booked on cost centers, GL accounts, etc., etc. So for a seamless purchase-to-pay process in this world of more, robust integration between these applications is key. So both the transactional but also the master data needs to be synchronized in the best possible way. Well, so far so good, right? So this story sounds, I guess, pretty straightforward and logical. The reality is a bit different though. Building robust technical connectivity between these 2 applications is one thing, but let them talk in the same language is something completely different. This can be a complex, time-consuming, and error-prone process. So when using or implementing Coupa, the integration with the SAP world needs to be carefully considered. And then there's also the scenario that you have the integration between SAP and Coupa already in place, using, for example, file-based approach and or custom-built integrations with BAPIs, IDOCs, or APIs. What happens if the SAP landscape itself is changing? What's the impact on the integrations? Do they need to be adjusted manually? What's the risk? And are you able to leverage modern technologies? But before we continue and dive deeper into these 2 scenarios, let's pause here for a minute for a quick poll, so that we get a better understanding of where you guys are in the process. So please let us know what's your Coupa maturity score. So are you either evaluating Coupa, are you planning to implement it, are you currently implementing it, or are you already live with the suite? So I will give you a couple of seconds before we continue. All right, great. Thanks for your input. It's interesting to see that we have both a mix of potential new and existing Coupa customers in the audience. So now let's jump to the next chapter. So why now is the right time to modernize the integration between SAP and Coupa? Well, based on the poll, some of you are evaluating or implementing Coupa. So when implementing Coupa, companies are often helped by both Coupa and an implementation partner. Well, these parties all have a lot of knowledge and expertise with both the Coupa platform and the P2P process in itself. By no doubt, they are able to perfectly set up and configure the Coupa solution based on your business requirements. But the new platform needs to be integrated with the existing SAP system or systems as well. In this integration, both the technical and the functional part is considered to be quite difficult. It's complex and often underestimated. So building the integration yourself is a very challenging task, which will impose you to risk and challenges. Let me elaborate a little bit on that. So first, there is the implementation time and effort, setting up the connectivity, discussing the process, creating the iFlows, mappings, etc. just takes a lot of time. Second, there's the knowledge gap. In order to fix the integration between S/4HANA on the left-hand side, Coupa on the right-hand side, you need a very specific toolkit of knowledge. You need to understand S4, Coupa, middleware, and the purchase-to-pay process itself. Third, building something yourself can already be a challenge, right? Based on the time and knowledge gap. It may also impose you to major risk in the areas of maintainability, security, scalability, but also expert dependability. Fourth, there are hidden costs involved. Additional internal FTEs are required. External consultants are contacted to help, and many different parties just need to work together to meet project deadlines. And last but not least, long time to value. So when building the integrations yourself, these challenges can have a negative impact on project deadlines and the go live of the Coupa platform itself. So we've now focused on the integration challenges when implementing Coupa. But changes on the other side of the equation also trigger integration challenges, but also opportunities. So let's jump to the next slide. Well, as an SAP customer, you will recognize that you're often kindly asked or forced to transform. But these transformations will have an impact on the way SAP and Coupa are integrated. So let me highlight a couple of these changes. First, there's the ERP transformation. Moving from ECC to S/4HANA is a huge transformation. One thing you already know, the integrations will for sure be impacted by this transformation. Second, there are the end-of-life announcements. So we have SAP Progress Orchestration, PO, which is announced end of life in 2027, and NEO, which is the old development platform, will follow 1 year later in 2028. PO is being replaced by Cloud Integration and NEO by Cloud Foundry. And third, we have the SAP Business Technology Platform, and more specifically, Integration Suite. So as part of this clean core strategy of SAP, they offer their customers the BTP platform on top of the S4 instance. Integration Suite is part of BTP, and it will help you to quickly integrate on-premise and cloud processes, services, applications, events, and data. So how to deal with these changes as a business? Well, you can either decide to take the lift and shift approach and only do a technical migration, but why not leverage this momentum to innovate? Adopt new technology standards, adapt to this changing integration paradigms, and also improve to scale your business in this world of more. Well, we've noticed that many companies use this momentum to change and innovate their integrations following best practices, but also simplify, standardize, and scale. So to summarize, whether it's triggered by your SAP implementation, the transformation on the SAP side, or even both, the integration between SAP and Coupa will be affected. So building or rebuilding the integrations from scratch will come with complex challenges. So let's use this momentum to modernize and leverage standard connectivity options, both from a technical but also a functional perspective. So now let's talk about the solution. So how can you overcome these integration challenges and modernize your SAP and Coupa integration? But the perfect solution, standard solution, basically consists of two components. First, we have the SAP Coupa adapter. This is one of the standard adapters which is released by SAP via the Business Accelerator Hub, formerly known as api.sap.com. It is the standard technical bridge between SAP and Coupa. You can easily download it, and the adapter is free of charge. The funny fact is actually that Rogo Integrations is the OEM partner of SAP in the integration domain. We have more than 20 years of knowledge about SAP integrations. We are the authors of the official training books on SAP PO and CI, and we actually build standard adapters on the cloud integration platform to connect the SAP and the non-SAP world, like Salesforce, Workday, ServiceNow, AWS, etc. On top of that, there's the Coupa Accelerator. It's an integration content package that will help you to seamlessly integrate SAP and Coupa from a more functional perspective. Well, as a partner of Coupa, we have worked closely together with their product development teams for the last 2 years to build this standard solution. It's a set of valuable content which adds functional knowledge to the adapter. With this out-of-the-box package of iFlows, you are able to hit the ground running, saving you months of development time if you are planning to build it yourself. It is following the best practices from both SAP and Coupa, and as a result, it is the best and most future-proof solution to connect Coupa and SAP from a more functional perspective. And yes, of course, it's Coupa certified and available in the app marketplace. So my colleague Ambush will now walk you through both the adapter and the accelerator in a little bit more detail.
Thank you, Joris. So let's talk about the Coupa adapter, which is a standard adapter of SAP, and it is officially published by SAP, and it follows the best practices of SAP, and it's free to use. So adapter is based on the REST API of Coupa, and it provides a secure mechanism to connect with your Coupa platform through the CI. It supports all the operations available in the Standardize API of Coupa, and it also provides some advanced features like paginations, and it supports both JSON and XML format of data. And also, if you have any requirement about customized object in Coupa, you will be provided with the Eclipse plugin, which can be used to generate your customized XML schema definitions. And now talking about the accelerator, which is a pre-packaged integration content, which covers the entire procure to pay integration process between Coupa to S/4HANA. And this solution also makes sure that you are following the best practices on all three platforms, as your S/4HANA, Coupa, and cloud integrations. And it also makes sure that you are not doing any kind of customization in SAP or Coupa platform in order to run these integrations. It provides a real-time integration, and it makes sure that you are not starting from the scratch, and you already have something you can build upon for the Coupa and SAP integration. Let's have a look. What are the scenarios which we are already covering as part of our Coupa accelerator? So we believe that these sets of integration provide coverage for 80% of your functional requirement. And these are some of the objects which we are integrating through the interface, through our pre-packaged content. So you can see there are chart of accounts between Coupa to S/4HANA, which covers GL account, cost center, company code, WBS element, etc. You can replicate your supplier between Coupa and S/4HANA, and we also cover different flavor or variation of supplier between Coupa and S/4HANA in 3 different data models as well. You can sync your supplier from Coupa to S/4HANA as well, and exchange rate. So these are the objects which are covered as part of master data integration. And as part of transactional data, we covered many scenarios like purchase order, invoices in both direction, and different ways of syncing invoices through journal entry, your PO-based invoices, non-PO-based invoices, or syncing payments goods received between Coupa and S/4HANA. So we have covered more than 20 scenarios to make sure that you can pick and choose from these sets of interfaces based on your business requirements. Now I want to showcase how easy it is to use this adapter or integration content. And share my screen. So here you can see on help.sap.com, Coupa Receiver Adapter is part of the standard adapter available on SAP's cloud integration platform. And you can find more details about the adapter from here, how to download it. And alternatively, if you already have SAP's cloud integration platform, you can simply go in the Discover segment and type Coupa, and you should be able to see the Coupa adapter here. So you can simply download the Coupa adapter from here in your cloud integration tenant and start using it right away. And another part of our solution is pre-packaged integration content. What does that mean is that we have already built these set of interfaces. You call it integration flows in cloud integration. And these integration flows can be simply configured and it will be ready to be used right away. And the way we have designed these integration flows is that it is highly flexible and configurable based on your business needs. So you do not have to make huge enhancement in these existing interfaces. So this is one of the example iFlows, which I'm showing on my screen. And you can see this iFlow syncs purchase order from Coupa to S4HANA. It can handle multiple operation, like it can create a new purchase order in S4HANA. It can update any changes in the purchase orders. It also comes with a standard built-in exception handling sub-process, which you can adapt based on your organization's exception handling process. You can also, you will find a lot of configuration options in these interfaces, which you can change on the fly and change the execution of your business functionality in these interfaces without actually making any changes in the iFlows. So with this integration content, we feel that, let's say 80% of your business functionality will be covered through these interfaces. And remaining, we can assess and see. Remaining can be done through the enhancements in these interfaces. So let's take a real example. Let's say you have a requirement of exchanging purchase order from Coupa to S4HANA. And in order to make this purchase order in Coupa, you need suppliers. So we already have an interface which will bring all your suppliers from S4HANA to Coupa. Then in order to create this purchase order, you need these chart of accounts. So we have covered a lot of these master data object as part of the standard integration content, which you can use to bring this master data from S4HANA to Coupa. Now, through our integration content, you can sync this purchase order in your S4HANA system, and you can see your S4HANA purchase order number in the Coupa. And then you could have a requirement that you want to perform a goods receipt on this purchase order. And once you create the goods receipt, that can also be replicated to S4HANA. You can see the goods receipt number, which got created in S4HANA in your Coupa system. And then you can invoice this purchase order and send this invoice back to S4HANA, and that invoice number will be S4HANA invoice number will be bring to Coupa. So from these integration content, you can make sure that we make sure that most of your business needs are covered end to end as part of your procure to pay process. Over to you, Yoris.
Yes, great. Thanks a lot, Ambuj, for sharing these insights. Now let's jump to the next section of this webinar. Let's say call it the proof of the pudding, a customer success story. This is about an implementation we have been doing at an electric car manufacturer. So yeah, it is about an electric car manufacturer who was implementing the Coupa platform and was actually looking for a way to connect the platform with the SAP backend. And the business had a couple of challenges, right? So they had the goal to achieve seamlessly data integration with automated processes. They had to reduce costs and timelines, and they had to realize cost savings for faster time to value. Well, because of the complexity of the integrations, but also because of the tight project deadlines, building something themselves was just not an option. So they decided to use the standard Coupa adapter together with the accelerator, for the main reason that the accelerator itself runs natively in SAP Integration Suite. It comes with, like mentioned by Ambuj, 80% out-of-the-box functionality. It really helped their organization to connect these critical processes between SAP and Coupa with minimal involvement from their own teams. So the accelerator itself is fully configurable, so it's very easy for them to make customer-specific changes. And as a result, well, the Coupa adapter and accelerator from Rogo Integrations helped this customer to speed up the technical and the functional integrations, actually ensuring nothing slipped through the cracks during the project. Within just 4 weeks, Coupa was fully integrated with their S4 systems, and now they do have a seamless integration with their existing SAP instance, which results in optimized end-to-end spend management processes. Well, their employees no longer need to bounce between these different systems or use manual time-consuming methods to complete key operational tasks. Last but not least, real-time data flows, right, between both systems give them full visibility and control over their purchase-to-pay process. And before I forget, in the introduction, I mentioned that you can use the chat functionality for questions, but I made a short mistake. You have to use the Q&A option. So in case you do have any questions, feel free to use the Q&A option in the webinar. So with that said, we are almost at the end of the webinar. And before we actually go to the Q&A, let's first jump to the next slide. So this webinar will only be approximately 30 minutes, in which we have shared quite a lot of information. We can imagine that you do have some additional questions or that you are interested to learn a little bit more. So that's the reason why we are going to offer you a one-on-one session for free, so that we can dive a bit deeper into the topic and discuss your challenges in more detail. So feel free to scan the QR code or send us an email to hello@rogoconsultancy.com, and we will get in contact with you shortly. Now it's actually the last part of this webinar, which will be the Q&A. So let me quickly take a look. All right. So we received a question about the sourcing integrations, whether there's a roadmap or plan to implement sourcing integrations with SAP. I think one of my colleagues already answered that one. So they are not included yet, but they can be developed as a custom integration for your own specific use case. So that's specifically something we consider to be an enhancement. One of the other questions, what is the difference between the adapter and the integration content? So
yeah, I can take that up. So adapter provides a technical connectivity between your cloud integration platform and Coupa. And while the integration content fill the functional gap between your SAP and Coupa system. And it makes sure that both platforms are speaking same language, and yeah, it is certified by Coupa, follows the best practices.
Great. Thanks a lot, Ambuj. I see is one last and final question. Is the integration content plug and play? Could you elaborate on that as well?
Yeah, as I showed you, you can import the entire package in your cloud integration content, configure it based on your business requirement, and yeah, it will be ready to go. It's a plug and play.
All right, thanks a lot, Ambuj. Let's see. There is also a question about, let me quickly check. Error handling. Could you elaborate on that, Ambridge?
What is the question? Don't see it. Is it in the chat?
I thought it was in the chat.
So for the exception handling, we have exception handling common process using alert emails. But the way we have designed these iFlows that you can route it to your own exception handling process as well. So you will have a flexibility in order to handle the exception in each of these iFlows.
Yeah, the question was about integration failures, how they are being handled with the adapters.
So you mean in the integration content, it will be handled via alert email by default, but you have a flexibility in terms of design to change it based on your business, your organization's need.
Thanks. We received one additional question. Doing an integration with the customer using CXML, is the connectivity credentials and shared secret is sent as a plain text?
So with Coupa, I think your question is more towards Ariba integration. So Coupa works with the OAuth authentication mechanism. It doesn't use plain username and password authentication, if that is your question. It is fully secured with OAuth authentication.
All right. Are there any additional questions for us? If not, or if you do have a question afterwards, feel free to get in contact with us. Without any questions, we jump to the final slide of this webinar. Well, it actually marks the end of today's webinar. So thank you all for joining. We are looking forward to continuing our conversations in a one-on-one, and have a great day.